You join me at the start of a 3-day photography trip here in the always spectacular Eryri National Park in North Wales. There are plenty of honeypot photography locations here, where you'll find iconic compositions and hordes of landscape photographers, but the goal for this trip, for me, is to explore some of the quieter corners of the national park. I also want to talk about some thoughts I have surrounding honeypot photography locations, both positive and negative. So come along with me as I explore this beautiful valley.
Well, hello everyone, welcome back to another video from one of my favourite places in the world, Eryri National Park. It's been a while since I've done a video here, it's been a while since I brought my camera here. I've been doing a lot of stuff more locally recently, which has been great, but it's always great to get back into the mountains. And today I'm in a lesser explored area of the national park. I'm here in the Rhyd Ddu area. I've just taken a walk up the shore of Llyn Y Gader. I've got Yr Wyddfa, Snowdon, the highest mountain in Wales, behind me with, well, a moment ago had some nice light on it, but there's some spectacular views in this valley. I'm following what's called the Snowdonia Slate Trail, which takes in the views, but it also takes in some of the abandoned industry that is so synonymous with this part of Wales. Obviously slate mining was such a big industry at the turn of the century, and yeah, I'm hoping to get a lot of variety by going on this walk. So you don't have to walk far up the trail to start seeing evidence of the slate industry and the ruins and remnants of that industry here in Snowdonia. It's something that I'm endlessly kind of fascinated with in landscape photography. I don't often get drawn to a lot of man-made elements in landscapes because I like to photograph landscapes for the natural beauty of them. But there is just something when it comes to history and human elements in photos that are there to tell a story about history and the history of the landscape that I just think makes for very interesting landscape photos. It's the narrative, I suppose, that I'm drawn to, and it's the juxtaposition between the landscape and something that is man-made. It's something that I'm exploring a lot more, and I still don't fully know where that's going to take me, but if I ever come across something like this, then there's always a photo to be taken. Always just really cool to see. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot more evidence of that as we carry on up the trail. But this isn't the main priority today. I want to capture it, I want to take that snapshot, but yeah, I do want to find some nice traditional landscape photos as well. But just thought I'd point this out. It's yeah, it's really cool. We'll see if we can get a shot here. So having taken a pretty steep walk up the hill, I've arrived at this dry stone wall with these really beautiful pine trees. It's one of the main subjects that I wanted to photograph in this location because, especially where I live in North Wales, I don't see an awful lot of pine. I see a lot of oak and a lot of oak woodlands, but it's a bit of a treat to have a bit of a different subject. And I feel like taking a shot of these trees would be very fitting for a location like this, because this is one of the only locations that I've seen where there is an abundance of pine trees, so I feel like the photo would tell a good story of the landscape. And speaking of the landscape, I do want to try and get some of the landscape in the shot. The light is looking really nice over on Snowdon and on some of the rolling hills, but there's no light on the tree at the moment, so it's going to be a bit of a waiting game, but there are breaks in the clouds, so I'm hopeful that I can pull this off. And then I'll talk about the composition once I've set up, and I suppose whilst we wait for the light, I'll talk about a bit more about the topic that I want to talk about in today's video, which was around honeypot locations, finding photography locations, and I guess where I find the joy in landscape photography these days. This seems like a pretty decent place to perch myself. Hopefully you can see me okay. But yeah, this whole topic of sort of honeypot locations, it's something that I've grappled with a lot over the years, and I feel like I've got to a place in landscape photography now where I've sort of done a lot of the, I guess, early learning that you have to do to learn about composition and what works well in the landscape. And I feel like honeypot locations are great for that, because I guess the whole definition of a honeypot location is that it's a location that you can go with your camera where you're guaranteed to get good photos, because there's a vista or a subject there that's just easily photographable, and that's great. It's a great learning experience, and it's that immediate gratification that you get of just being able to go out with your camera, take a great photo, edit it, and sort of get that dopamine hit. And if you don't have a lot of time and you have few opportunities to go out and do landscape photography, then I understand completely why going to locations where you know you're going to get good photos is just the most satisfying way to pursue your hobby. But I think for me, I've done a lot of that over the years, and I've sort of changed my perspective a little bit, and now I'm sort of wanting to sort of find my own locations and find my own subjects. And I guess the real satisfaction that I get from photography is when I find something that is new to me and that I haven't seen photos of before. And it's not because I'm trying to change the world with my photography by any means, it's just what brings me joy and what, you know, brings me satisfaction in all of this. And yes, it means that you don't always get good photos and you come away from photo shoots, you know, sometimes without anything, but you just know that when everything aligns and you've found a composition, you've walked to a location, you've completely taken it by chance, or you've tried to plan it to the nth degree, and when it finally all comes together and you pull it off, I just don't think there's a better feeling. And it's just something that I'm trying to do more of. You know, that's why I've come to this area of the national park today, because it isn't somewhere that I've been. It isn't somewhere, well, sorry, it's not somewhere that I've been often. It's certainly not somewhere that I've photographed. And it's not somewhere that I've seen an awful lot of photos from. And I know there will be photos of these pine trees. There will be photos of the lake and some of those derelict quarries. But, you know, it's just that thing of I'm trying not to look at other people's work. I'm trying to find something that is uniquely me, because that enables me to then develop all of my skills and work a scene and not be influenced by other people's compositions. And yeah, I thought that might be something that's kind of worth reflecting on and sharing. By all means, go to honeypot locations, but, you know, try and find your own compositions, try and find your own images, you know, the things that interest you. And I think in the long run, you'll find a lot more joy in landscape photography for doing that. Anyway, the light is getting pretty good, so let's try and get a photo of this tree. So I think it's best to talk through the composition when the photo is on screen, just because it's a little bit difficult to show you whilst I'm getting everything set up. But I do want to talk about the lens that I'm using, and it's the lens that I've used for a couple of images so far today, and that's the Sony 20mm f1.8. I do need a wide angle lens for this because I need the tree to be quite dominant in the frame, and I want the background to have less compression, so there's that separation between the tree and the hills. And obviously with the wall being closer to the lens, it just makes it a little bit more predominant, which I think works well. But I just absolutely love this lens. I just seem to be using it more and more, and I just wanted to share that because I think 20mm is a focal length that is sometimes overlooked. I have done a video on my channel already about the 20mm focal length and why I love it so much. But since I've made that video, which was about a year ago, I've just fell in love with it even more. It's just such a unique perspective, and because I'm using it so much, I'm seeing kind of consistent results in my imagery that is just satisfying to look at when I'm looking through my portfolio. Yeah, it's just a bit more of a unique focal length. So that's what I'm going to use for this shot. So yeah, still waiting for the light though. Confident it's going to come, but it might not be epic. but we'll see.
So I really enjoyed the soft quality of the light in this photo. Compositionally, there's a few things that are less than ideal, but I just think they're compromises that are worth making, mainly just being the right hand side of the tree. The lower limbs are intersecting the distant hills, so no separation there from the sky, which compositionally isn't the best, but I do think there's enough separation on the left hand side, and the tree is a big enough feature within the image that I don't think it makes too much difference. I did also want to make sure that the lake was present in the frame. If I went lower in terms of the angle to try and get more separation between the tree and the sky, I would have ended up blocking out the lake. So it's one of these where there's just always a compromise to be made, but I don't think it detracts from the final image too much. So after packing up at this location, me and Alex headed back down the hill and rejoined the Slate Trail, which carried on along the shoreline of Llyn Y Gader, which I wanted to explore a little bit more because there were plenty of trees and I guess potential subjects along the lakeside, which I thought were quite interesting. So I took this general landscape shot just showing the shore with some of the reeds and grasses along the shoreline with the nice pine trees and the view over to the peak of Yr Wyddfa in the far valley. Again, not necessarily the greatest composition, but I just enjoyed the tonality and I guess just the general snapshot of this particular place, which we both really enjoyed. And as we headed back to the van along the trail, I noticed a potential intimate landscape shot which was using the lake as a background for the reeds and the limbs of this tree, which I just thought were quite interesting. I enjoyed the colour combination in this particular scene with the soft blues and the nice vibrant greens. Again, just nice low contrast and nice sort of quiet landscape shot, I suppose you would class it as. So let me know what you think of the images that I've shared in today's video. A bit of a mixed bag, a bit of variety, and I'd love to hear which ones you liked the best down in the comments below.
So after a lovely walk in Rhyd Ddu, the light didn't really materialise, so I didn't bother sticking around for any more photos. The clouds came in and the rain started, so we decided to head back to the van and get back to our campsite, which is actually a little bit further down the valley in Rhyd Ddu. I forget the name, but I will put it up on screen if you're ever in the area. I highly recommend it. We've had a fire pit this evening, we've cooked some food, we have had some tea. So all in all, a really nice day. I didn't really have many plans for photography today, so I'm quite happy with how it all turned out, and I have plans to go out again tomorrow to try and get some more photos in this same area, but that will be next week's video. But given the fact that it's windy and rainy at the moment, who knows whether or not that will actually happen. Could get completely rained off, but that is the joys of landscape photography. Anyway, I will leave it there for today. Thanks for joining me for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of the photos. And if you haven't already, do consider hitting that subscribe button. See you next week for another video. Until then, take care.